Pedro Morais will give us a very nice presentation called From Visitor to Guide, How Changing the Roles Can Improve the Impact of Heritage Interpretation. Pedro is a consultant and trainer in ecotourism and sustainable tourism. He is the president of Interpretare and is the deputy country coordinator for Portugal in Interpret Europe. And he's going to present us the results from a workshop of heritage interpretation from a very fresh from the oven seminar, which was carried in May 2021. And without any further ado, I would like to leave the floor to Pedro. So Pedro, please.
Thank you very much, Cristina, and hello everyone. I will share my presentation. I hope everything works correctly. I think it's this one. Are you seeing the?
Yes. We are seeing the presentation. We are seeing the presentation. It's fine.
Full screen, yes, in full screen.
Yes, and we also see on the right side of the screen your other.
Now.
Oh, now it's full screen. Now it's perfect.
Okay. So thank you. So I'm here because the first author of this presentation, Catarina, is with her newborn, so I have this task to make this presentation. I hope that I can explain everything because I'm not an archaeologist and this workshop was in an archaeological site, so I will try to do my best. I will tell you about two main ideas about the flexibility of heritage interpretation and the challenge that we had for this activity, the activity itself, some results, and maybe the more important, I think, for all of us, is some conclusions that we can take from this experience that can be used in another activities that can connect heritage interpretation with tourism. So the main ideas for this workshop were the flexibility that heritage interpretation can have and can be used in different contexts with a wide range of media, with different strategies that we can use everywhere. But there are questions that is what are the limits of heritage interpretation? How far can we extend use of heritage interpretation into entire new forms of presenting heritage? And this was some kind of huge challenge for this activity. And we tried to make something very strange in the beginning. Everyone was very shocked with this. That was the possibility to train visitors with some heritage interpretation concepts and try to put visitors in the role of guides. And the place where we developed this activity was an archaeological site near Oporto, in north of Portugal, few minutes north of Oporto. And this is an archaeological site that has different activities like life interpretation activities, workshops with subjects very related with the archaeological site, that is a fort hill of Iron Age with later Roman occupation. And the challenge was to give not only to produce an interesting activity, but also to give awareness about the importance of heritage interpretation for different stakeholders. And this is the question that we take into account to produce this innovative activity. And another thing was the need for different views of the archaeological site, because almost of the activities were based in the archaeologists' points of view, and was important to give another dimension for this site. So the activity was necessary to think about this with a special design. It was not easy to have visitors as guides. It is not normal. So the first aspect was to clarify for everyone what was the activity. So we separate two groups. The first group was the guides. That was not exactly guides, but we call it guides. That was people, some of them were previously with have previous experience as guides, but some of them was the first time that was doing some activity like that. And there was also people from the local, but also people from other places that were the first time that was there. Some of the people have background in archaeology, and there was lots of different backgrounds in this group. So we divide into these two groups, and the first one was trained in 1 week to make some kind of interpretive visit, and the second one was simple visitors that gave the idea of a test if the other group was working well, and give some kind of reality for this kind of activity. And the second group also was doing some kind of evaluation. So this is the archaeological site, and that was advertised a different activity that was oriented for a special place, and that the different participants were connected. The place were different other dimensions, and these dimensions is not only the dimension of time, because it was a travel from the past to present, but the contrary wise also was also a travel from the present to the past. And the connection, for example, with we can see in this slide, we can see a forest around the archaeological place, but this forest, it's not a local one. It's in reality, almost of these trees are from Australia, are eucalyptus. So was necessary to make a connection between the present and the past, and try to put imagination in the visitors about what was this place 2 centuries ago. 20 centuries ago. And was also important to make this kind of important connection between natural and cultural heritage, because almost of people, when we talk about heritage, are thinking about cultural heritage, and it is important also to make the connections, so much connections as possible between natural and cultural heritage. So it was also important to have another dimension, that is a connection between the scientific information, the scientific data, and also the legends that people have about this place, and was very interesting to make all these dimensions present in the visit. So was a week for the development of the activity. This is the first workshop online that we had. and it was necessary to make some adaptation of different materials to make them very accessible for people that were not used to plan a visit, for example, including for some guides that usually do the guided visits without planning, and was necessary to have some kind of work before the beginning of the activity to plan visit points and to give some information and some help for the participants. And this is quite important to give them the necessary support to carry on this activity with security. This is the timetable between Monday and Saturday, the day of the visit. And the first day was a meeting where some concepts and some ideas and the objectives were transmitted for the participants. The next 2 days, the Tuesday and Wednesday, were days for email and telephone support for some doubts, and then we in the Wednesday we had another meeting by Zoom at night to clarify everything what is necessary to start working in the activity. The next 2 days were the individual support by Zoom, and this individual support was necessary to make some kind of secret of each one of the participants for the final activity. And because in the Saturday we have in the morning some kind of preparation, some kind of test, but even with the test was done with everyone. Everyone will try to make some kind of secret about all their explanation about, for example, the props, the techniques that each one was used for this kind of visit. And then in the afternoon of Saturday, we had the visit. So was some kind of a very hard week for everyone, because this was the contacts was made almost in the afternoon and in the night. So because everyone was working in that time, and was very interesting to see how the approach of interpretation that have to be very simple, but also quite interesting for someone that already had read about interpretation, and was interesting to see people acquiring some ideas and some concepts about heritage interpretation in so short period of time. So it was necessary to balance and to select information for each one, and it's interesting to see the evolution in a small period of time. This is an image about what we transmit about interpretation. We say that interpretation was some kind of a glasses that was possible with interpretation to see another things in this place that for most of people was a noise place. And the results, I think the results were very, very positive, because we have people from different backgrounds, and they enrich with ideas and with the approaches about the understanding of the place. Because sometimes the archaeologists have a limited view about their work, and it was this kind of activity was very open in one side, and in another very connected with every approaches that were possible to see in activity. And it was interesting to see some kind of props that the participants use it, and it was very interesting to see the connections between each one of the points, each one of the participants in the visit. But of course, there are lots of things that we can improve in this kind of activity. The application of heritage interpretation principles and techniques. It's not possible to transmit in so short time. So it's necessary to maybe for the development of one activity like this, it's necessary to expand the time of work with participants. Also, the logical sequence of a visit was very difficult to do, including if we are preparing before, because each person is different from the other, and it's difficult just in the morning to make all the connections and to put everything working very well at the first time, to have public for this visit, to have another people. It's interesting to say also that because each person have only one point, the other part of the visit, the guides were also visitors. So and they have lots of attention for the work that the other one was doing, because the visitors had the experience to be guides before. And I think this can be change everything. Of course, something that was not working very well was the time, because there was lots of time we use it for each participant, and then the total activity was much longer than we expect. And another thing that is important was to merge theoretical sessions with practical activities. That was not possible to do. We had the theoretical session in one day, and then support, and then the practical activities in the end. But it was very interesting if you think that we can mix better these two things. So we in the final the evaluation of the activity was very good for almost of the points, but it was very interesting also, not only the evaluation but the surprise that each participants as visitors and as guides had about this kind of approach, this different approach of heritage interpretation. This was very interesting to see the impact of heritage interpretation in this kind of group that have no initial expectations about what is interpretation, and many of them never hear about heritage interpretation. So I would like to tell one particular comment that was done by the head of the local parish, Bernardino, that said that I participated in more than 100 visits for this place, just the same visit, the same place, but this one gave me new dimensions about what is possible to connect between this Cividade de Bagunte, the archaeological place, and everything we can see around, and everything we can learn about this. And this is very interesting to see this kind of comments. So to finish and to conclude this kind of activity, the change of roles, we think that can improve significantly the impact of heritage interpretation, because we can raise interest about interpretation in people that never had a relationship with heritage interpretation. The principles and the strategies, I think we can try to create activities that can transmit this to tourists and to visitors. Even this kind of visitors will not be interpreters or guides in the future. I think they can understand the difference between an interpretative and a common guided visit. And this is quite important, I think, for the success of heritage interpretation, because there are lots of activities, at least in Portugal, and I know in other countries, that they are called interpretative activities and have nothing related with heritage interpretation. They are only the title. And it's necessary to see the difference and to have a capacity to show this. I think we can assume that this experience can be applied in other places and can be used to enrich experiences, not only for visitors, but also for local community, for example. And we had some people from local community and other stakeholders when we want to use this concept for another agents of the context, including the tourism context. And one important remark that I think that we can have from this activity is the capacity, more than the capacity of the people that organize this activity, is the capacity, is the power of interpretation to change things and to change something very quickly. And in this example of this activity was just 1 week. We can understand that heritage interpretation maybe can have more bigger limits than what we can imagine. And this activity, I think, it's a small proof of that. And the impact of all of these in tourism, I think it can be very important, because we are in the consequence of the pandemic, we are talking about new tourism, but in reality, I don't know if it's new tourism, because the origin of tourism, and we are thinking in medieval age and in the beginning of the tourism world, the Grand Tour, the educational significance, the educational component of tourism was very present. And I think heritage interpretation is now the possibility to put in practice this kind of educational component that we need for tourism, and we need for that new tourism that we are talking every time now. So we need to go deeper in the understand and the connection of visitors with heritage sites. We need to raise the educational level of a visit and producing a better and stronger connection between people and the visited place. So I think all of these aspects, I think it's a significant contribution for a more sustainable tourism, and for a tourism that can be important, and models of tourism that can be important not only for current activities like ecotourism or cultural tourism or educational tourism, but maybe could be very important for future kinds of tourism that we will need in the more, if we want a more sustainable world, and I think it is. And I finished the presentation. I tried to be rapid, so I think we will have some minutes to that I can try to answer some questions, and we can receive some comments of this. We have now our email here, And if you want, we can speak better about all of this activity and the results of this activity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pedro. It was wonderful. And I think it was a great example of how you can engage people to value heritage interpretation, but also to care and to value the natural and cultural heritage by creating these connections. And because we don't have so much time, I'll try to look at the questions as they came. The first one was from Peres Sonvik. Have you seen similar projects in other places?
Sorry, the question is
if you saw any similar projects
no,
in other places.
No, this is one of the reasons because we are presenting this small activity in this big conference is exactly that we have no reference about this kind of activity, and it was a crazy idea. It was an idea that needs then a very huge work about engineering, about creating the possibilities to put this real, and I think the results were quite interesting to make some kind of reference of this activity, but I have no idea about something similar in another places.
Okay, thank you for your answer. I think it was very clear. We have a question from Valiam. Interesting switch of roles. Do you have any ideas or plans for a follow-up? What would that be? Maybe put guides in the place or role of visitors. So if you have any idea of, if you want to do a follow-up.
Yes, of course we would like, and there are plans to be to have other activities like that in the same place. But I think we can also can think about how can we have more broader activities and activities related with tourists in another places. How can we have some kind of training in special activities for tourists? For example, if a tourist goes to make some activity for a long time, for example, if you will be 1 week in a forest, maybe it will be possible to make this kind of training along the activity. So I think there are potential for us some of these ideas in the future activities related with tourism. I think so.
And we have some comments. It could be maybe interesting to include, from Larissa Pietri, it could be maybe interesting to include guides or heritage interpreters between a group of visitors in a normal day of some touristic place like museums, castle, playing a similar role like a mystery shopper, but in the role of a visitor. So it's a suggestion. Another thank yous from Miguel Brito, from Sandy Colvine, who says that is really important to share heritage interpretation with other publics because it's communication after all. Yes, also from Larissa, the perception of some visitor can or may change depending on their prior visits to other similar sites. Example, different sites or Roman Empire in the continent and Italy itself. So these were some comments, and I think we should move to the next session. But first, let me thank you again, Pedro. It was great and very eye-opening. Do you want to add something for us?
Sorry,
yes.
you are asking. You are asking me? Yes. No, I have to say that this is. I think that we have to be courage to be very creative with heritage interpretation, and maybe there are lots of different different things that we can do in heritage interpretation, and we have not to be linked with everything that someone did before. We have to do new things in heritage interpretation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.